Right, episode 6. Here we go. Let's talk EQ. So, we're quite familiar already, many of us, with applying EQ to tracks. It's very straightforward. Now, we're going to take it a step further and we're going to start actually adjusting the presets. I'm going to show you how to do that. So, let's talk vocals, okay? Now, you can apply EQ to the vocals individually. You can do it individually tracks, but why not use a bus? It's good practice to do so. So I'm going to go and I'm going to create a new bus and I'm going to do number 2. And I'm going to call this vocals bus. And as before, we had a nice pink color. So that's what we're going to do here. So everything's just nice and straightforward to keep track of. So I'm going to send this to, should have done all 3 at once, but it doesn't matter. Bus 3, again, going to level them to -18. You can always adjust later if you want more or less going through. Why did I say it's bus 3? Oh, now I've got a channel strip I don't want. Oh, how annoying. Oh, well, never mind. Doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. We can create another bus later perhaps. Okay, so let's have a look at the vocals bus, and we're going to go with channel EQ, and let's start with a preset. No harm in starting with a preset. Let's go with vocal refresh, that one. Let's have a listen.
Listen close and don't be stoned. I'll be here in the morning, 'cause I'm just waiting. Your cigarette still burns. Your messed up world will through me. Allison, I'm lost. Allison, outside is sinking. There's nothing here, but that's okay. Outside your room, your sister's spinning.
Okay, so haven't actually got very much of that EQ coming into effect at all. I was testing it out by putting on the phone notch filter, and you can't hear it. And the simple reason for that is because, remember, we're using a send, which is a copy. Okay, a copy. So you've still got all of the original signal, and the send is sending a copy of that through, which is coming out of the EQ. So you've got some un-EQ'd track as well as EQ'd track. So what we can do instead, if we get rid of this, if we change this to output and we go to the vocals bus, we're going to change the output of the vocals to bus 2. Okay, and I'm going to take this out. Okay, might end up putting it back in again later for something else. But that should now mean that if we alter this, let's test it out again with the good old phone notch filter. Okay, so you can hear that that is now working. So let's go back up to voice. We'll go female refresh.
And the sailors, they strike poses. TV-covered walls answer slowly.
There we go. So we've now got the output going through the bus, and as a result we can control that as effectively as a group of faders. What it also means is if I want to change the volume of all 3 of those tracks together, I can adjust the level on the vocal bar. So if I want to take the vocals out entirely, I can.
Your messed up life still thrills me.
Okay, so that's the difference between using a bus on a send and a bus on an output. Useful. So we have in our classroom this poster, okay, and this is what's known as an EQ cheat sheet. And well, cheat sheet is probably the wrong term, because I mean, if you do nothing but engineer 365 days a year, and it is your profession and all that kind of thing, then you can probably remember all of these. However, there's no harm at all in looking at a bit of a help sheet to tell you what is what in terms of EQ. So this has got a whole load of different instruments on it: kick, snare, hi-hat, cymbals, bass, electric guitar, acoustic guitar, etc., all down the side. And these tell you which EQ bands you need to vary in order to achieve different things. Okay, so we are currently we're working on Alexis's vocals. She's a soprano. Okay, so it tells you that if you want to increase the body of the sound, right, make it sound fuller, you need to be boosting EQ between 200 and 300 hertz. Now, if you look along the bottom here, luckily the color coding is very similar. In fact, I think it's the same, which is incredibly handy. Okay, so if you're looking around here, around the 300 hertz range, yep, that's the yellow dot. So let's find the yellow dot. There it is. So at the moment, you can see that at just above 300 hertz, that's being reduced in order to refresh this vocal. So why don't we bring it back between the 200 and 300? Actually, we're going to alter it, and we're going to boost it instead.
Allison, I'm lost. Allison, I'll drink your wine. I wear your clothes when we're both high. Allison, outside we're sinking.
Okay, so we're increasing the amount of body within the sound. Okay, there's also a mark there for, let's have a look, presence is between 4 and 6K, which is 4,000 and 6,000 hertz. So let's have a little look. Let's use the green, go up to 4,000. Okay, so we're just tweaking. In fact, let's go 5,000 because it's halfway between the two. Just add a little bit more presence.
But she lies, tells me it's just fine.
Okay, so we've got the problem there that what's happened is because we're up into the higher end, if you look at the higher end, it talks about how we've got air and sibilance and hiss up at the top, and you can hear that her S sounds are now very, very pronounced. Now you might want that. There will be circumstances where you might want that, but I don't think that's what we want at the moment, is it?
I guess she's out there somewhere.
Okay, far too many S's going on there. But the good news is you can always put it back to the preset. The preset remains what it was, and then we have
Allison, outside we're sinking.
Actually, that's probably far too much sibilance there, isn't it? So let's try a different preset.
Outside we're sinking.
Yeah, sinking is...
Outside we're sinking.
Ah, we found an interesting section to work on. So let's have a little look. Let's take some of this down.
Outside we're sinking. Outside we're sinking. Outside we're sinking.
There we go. And just taken some of the harshness off those S's. Okay, so there is an EQ. How to apply it, how to use the EQ cheat sheet. Okay, now again, you will apply EQ to almost certainly every channel in your track. I'm not going to do that. At least I'm not going to do it in this version. I want you to have a go and use the cheat sheet, use the presets, use buses, use tracks individually, and apply different types of EQ. The golden rule, remember, ladies and gentlemen, is to use your ears. If you make it sound nicer, keep it. If you make it sound worse, do something different. It really is as simple as that. Of course, need to make some evidence for your blog or log or whatever you're calling your document for your assignment. So let's do that now. So I'm going to take a screenshot of the vocals bus, the preset that I've used. I'm actually going to hover over here so you can see what I've altered. Take a screenshot. Get rid of that. New section. Take that out. Put that in. Okay, so I started off by working on the EQ for the vocals. I decided to use a bus for this so that I could adjust the parameters for all of the vocal tracks together. Initially, I set this up as a send. However, this didn't give me the control that I wanted because I was EQing a copy of the vocal tracks and I wanted to EQ all of the track. So I set the bus as an output rather than a send. This meant that I had a good level of control over all three tracks together. I applied a female vocal preset as a starting point and then used an EQ sheet to help me adjust different, not parameters, to help me adjust different parts of the sound. I noticed in particular that the end of the song features a lot of S sounds, and these were coming through excessively. So I reduced the frequency range between 4,000 and 6,000 hertz to reduce the sibilance effect. Okay, nice and straightforward. Now, like I said, you'll have far more than that in your final project. You'll have far more different types of EQ, but that is the one that that's the one that I'm focusing on for this example. So next up will be, what will it be? It'll be episode 7, and that will be reverb. We're nearly there, folks.